welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of the day. It's brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Head over to drinkbloodofTyrants.com. Use the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show. Sorry, I was choking there on my own spit. It's going to save you 10% off the order at the checkout. Let's just roll with it. Let's not even start over. We're going to roll. We're going to keep that. We're going to play it live. As Bill O'Reilly said, fuck it, we'll do it live. DrinkBloodOfTyrants.com, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, is going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. They got a red wine, they got a white wine, and they got the Liquid Freedom energy drink. That's drinkbloodofTyrants.com. And if you use my promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, they're going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout on the only, to my knowledge, the only brand of wine featured in a Vice News documentary on domestic right-wing extremism. That's a pretty big feature there. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy, is here with me as always. And I'm feeling like a new human because about 45 seconds before we went on today, she removed my whiplash headaches that I've been having. I've got some type of pinched nerve between my upper back and my neck, and every time I think I'm finally over it, it flares back up. But I heard it again at the gym the other day doing a shoulder press, and I've had just horrible whiplash throughout the day. And she did this thing where she has no idea. I have literally gotten tens of thousands of dollars in chiropractic services out of her for free every day for the last 3 years. She has saved me in chiropractic fees. But so she walked on my back. And if you've got a wife your wife's got to be about 100 pounds lighter than you. That's usually where the sweet spot is. About 100 pounds, maybe a little bit more lighter than you. They can walk on your back. Any less than that, they're not going to be able to put enough pressure. Any more than that, they're going to hurt you. So she's like the perfect size where she can walk on my back and absolutely make me feel like a new human. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. Don't obviously consult your doctors before you just have your wives start walking on your back. Certainly, if you're dating like someone like a Jocelyn DeBonis, don't let her walk on your back because you will go to the emergency room. I'm not a doctor, but I can advise you of what will happen if you do that. That's not
fat piece of shit.
It's not a good idea. We're already taking shots, name dropping people, not even 5 minutes into the show. This is not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I'm testy today. I'm testy for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to get into on this show. For the simple reason that I know my audience doesn't give a damn and it's a waste of their time. But I'm very testy. So if you hear me getting aggravated easily on the show today, you'll understand why. How are you doing today? Mia, how's the day going?
Good.
Good. Are you finally recovering from this fake virus you've been using as an excuse to get out of work?
Yes.
She's finally over the fake. Again, supposedly she's been crippled by this horrible virus for the last week, and I haven't gotten as much of a sniffle. So I don't. So what's going on here? So what are you? You faked COVID twice. We already know about that. And now what? Which one are you faking? Neurovirus, the flu? What is it this time?
Everything.
Everything. She's faking flu-rona.
Yeah.
Yeah, flu-rona. That's
I got COVID twice, and you didn't get it once.
I've already told you why. You know why. The audience knows why. Some of the audience might not know why. She got COVID. So I think you got it 3 times.
Twice.
So she got COVID twice. The first time was really bad. The second time it wasn't as bad, was it? And we were living together at the time. Living in sin, as my grandmother says. But we were living together at the time. And I didn't get a sniffle. I never ran a fever, never coughed, nothing. Never got sick. We didn't change anything about how we interacted with each other because we weren't crazy people. Went about our lives. And I don't think I ever quarantined during that time either. I was still going out and doing things. I was on the road doing shit. Doing shows. Nothing really changed. during that time period. I was working everything. And I never got sick. And you guys want to know why I never got sick with COVID? It's a very, very simple equation. Do you know how if you don't believe in Santa Claus, you don't get presents? You know how if you don't believe in God, you don't go to heaven? Well, if you don't believe in COVID, if you refuse to believe that the virus exists, you're not going to catch it. And guess what? That worked so well for me during COVID. Keep in mind, I was in packed bars and theaters throughout COVID, throughout the whole COVID hoax. I was out surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people on a nightly basis, and I never got it once. I was working a job during COVID where I interacted with the public, hundreds of people on a daily basis. This never got COVID once, right? So I don't want to hear about it because it's not real. So that worked so well for me during COVID that I've now extended the same logic to all the other viruses. So I can't get the flu. I can't get the norovirus. I can't get the common cold. I don't get sick. It doesn't happen. You know what I think I'm going to do next, Mia? I think I'm going to start using that same logic on hangovers. I no longer believe hangovers exist. It's not a thing. I can't catch it. It's not a real thing. All right, I'll update you guys on Sunday and let you know how that goes. Speaking of Sunday, Saturday, we got an awesome show. Today, Saturday, at Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m., $10 cash at the door or on e-tix. We still got, I think, some tickets available as of this recording. We might not. Not for pre-sale, but we will have them at the door. We've got the roast battles. Bill Queen and Rome Daly facing off for the first and final time. The godfathers of the roast comedy scene going head-to-head for the first time ever and probably the last. You don't want to miss that. We've got special guest appearances. We've already announced it from none other than Chris Baker himself and several other folks. Fernando Villanueva is going to be on there. Might be a couple of friends dropping by that are at the center of some controversy. But it'll be a good time. Tonight, 9 p.m. Come check us out. Who is blowing my phone up? Oh, it's my brother.
I don't know, but my phone started vibrating the same time.
Okay, so it wasn't just my phone. I had like 3 messages. I'm like, okay, that was not all me. So, okay, that makes sense. All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about this week. We have got wildfires in California, show me love. Yeah, boys, let's get fucked up. We've got Facebook updating their free speech standards. We have got the UK grooming gang scandal. I'm going to warn you guys for that one. If you've got kids in the room, don't play that segment with them in the room. If you're faint of, and I don't do trigger warnings on this show. Here is more often than not. Because I think we're all adults. We should be able to just move on from things. With that said, I have the strongest stomach of anybody I know. I can hear and see some pretty gruesome shit. And yeah, I might find it disturbing. It won't really bother me all that much. This segment was tough for me to read when I was doing the pre-show prep. I will leave it at that. Some of the things on here, and it's important that I read it because it's important that you guys know what's coming to America if we don't wake the fuck up and get our immigration system in check. So I'm going to read it for you, and I normally don't deal in this kind of stuff, but I'm going to read some court documents for you that are going to disturb you a little bit, and I fucking hope they do because we have to do something because this will be our future. We've got the Lake and Riley Act. We've got ESPN is full of scandals, and I've got that strategically placed after a couple of pretty dark segments there to lighten the mood up. We got Biden handing out medals of freedom. The world turns on Elon Musk. Justin Trudeau finally steps down. Donald Trump is apparently wants to buy the world. I don't know what's going on there. And then we've got Dan Osborne's opponent is in the news. The woman who defeated him, Dan Osborne's opponent, is in the news. But before we do any of that, let's hop over to the current state of the left.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week in the current state of the left, it was January 6th on Monday. Hi, why don't you guys let me know in the comments on YouTube and Rumble how you all celebrated the holiday. Did you leave milk and cookies out for the QAnon shaman? That's the question there. With that said, January 6th always gives us plenty of great takes from the left for current state of the left, but none of them topped what The View's Sonny Hostin said on the show on January 6th. Go ahead and check this out. To the nods of approval of all of her co-hosts, mind you.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. And then you started seeing people backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on, because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery, we need to never forget, because past becomes prologue if you forget any race.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So what do you think is dumber there? Her comparing January 6th to the Holocaust, or her thinking the Holocaust happened in America? What was the worst take out of those two? What do you think, Mia? What's your take there? What was dumber? That I'm going to put January 6th in the same sentence as the Holocaust, or that I just said the Holocaust happened in America?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I thought I was feeling really stupid for wondering why she mentioned
No,
the
we were
Holocaust.
all one. The only stupid person here is the dumb bitch on The View. Who watches The View? Because I know that. Do you know anyone who watches The View? Have you met anyone? Who keeps that show on the air? Like, I know their views are their ratings are declining. They have been for quite some time. I know that for a fact. My question here is, the ABC Trump lawsuit really set the standard that you can't just go on and defame people when you've been told over and over and over again that it's not true, without having to pay some type of restitution for a consequence. So with that being the case, at what point is The View no longer on the air with its ever declining ratings, and the fact that they obviously, listen, we don't have a script on this show. I have a flow chart that I follow to keep me on task. I don't have a script. So not having a script is one thing, but when you've got 5 women yelling over each other, fighting for the limited airtime that they have without any type of structure to the show, you're gonna get people, especially when they're loudmouth loose cannons like them, you're gonna get people who say things that are just factually incorrect. So at what point does the risk of having this show still on the air begin to outweigh the potential financial gain from it? Eventually, they're going to say, you know what, this is... all it's going to take is one lawsuit. They're going to say, you know what, this is too much. We're done. We're pulling the plug. We can't take this. You continue to spew garbage. You continue to spew things that just are not true. And when to say things like the Holocaust happened in the United States, that's retarded, but nobody really gets hurt by that. But they have a history of drifting into defamatory statements about people that are very well documented, not true. So I just wonder how long it's going to be until that garbage is finally taken off the air. And that's what it is. It's trash TV. It really is. It's Jerry Springer for housewives who think they're too good to watch Jerry Springer. That's all The View is. I mean, it is. I remember my brother used to watch. What was the other one? Not Jerry Springer. Do you remember what the other one was? Maury. My brother used to watch Maury when we were kids. I'd during the summer or whatever, I'd come home and he'd have Maury on. And I remember thinking, like, I lose brain cells watching this show. This is actual garbage. But I made a big mistake the other day. I wanted to so I'm going through a lot of endurance training, right, at the gym. It's part of the new routine I'm on. And one of the things for endurance training is you've got to put your body through torture tests, right? Put it under intense amounts of stress and see what you can take. And part of that is a mental torture test. So I decided to watch an entire episode of The View and see if I could sit through it. And let me tell you, it made Maury seem like a scientific documentary. Like, it seriously, it made the people on Jerry Springer and Maury and Steve Wilkos seem like scholars, like people that you want to sit in on lectures from. It was so stupid. Never again. It's not going to happen. We'll play with the funny clips and we'll make fun of them. I will never watch an episode of The View again. That was pure torture. Pure torture. I can never do that again. That was the worst experience of my life, and I've been through a school shooting.
It's pure evil!
It's not pure evil. Don't give them that much credit. It's pure retardation. That's what it is. Evil requires like some semblance of intelligence. That's not them. Okay, let's get into the lead topic here. California is burning. California love. You know that song? Tupac and Dr. Dre. Now let me welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West. Yeah, I've done the Tupac verse on karaoke before. It's a good time. I didn't say the N-word. I bleeped it out. I say white guy instead. So California is on fire. You have got wildfires raging through the entire LA metro area. Well, not the entire LA metro area, but the LA metro area. In fact, the Hollywood sign is, as of this recording, in danger of being destroyed. Now, we've got two different videos that people, I could sit here and just play footage of it all day. That would be a waste of time. But I got two videos I want to show you guys that really, I felt, drive the point home the best about what it looks like in Southern California right now with these fires. We're going to get into what caused them. We're going to get into what the left is claiming. And then we're going to get into, of course, the reality. Those two things are usually at odds with situations like this. But check out this first video that Elon Musk shared to Twitter from these California fires. Go and pull this up. Look at that. Doesn't that look like a scene out of a movie? That's crazy. I mean, like, this looks like one of those movies where it's like a post-apocalyptic, like nuclear war movie or some bombing or something like that. Now, the other video here, this one was taken at night, and this looks kind of like Mordor from Lord of the Rings. Go ahead, check this out. This is California. This is LA. Look at that. That's nuts. Okay, you're good. And those videos were taken in Detroit before the fire. No, I'm kidding. No, not really. Those are LA. That's Los Angeles. Now, there is some good news. Biden announced that $500 million worth of aid is going to go to help the people of LA. Did you know that, Mia? $500 million. Did you hear that? $500 million worth of aid. As long as they move to Ukraine, they will be receiving that aid. Because this week, Wednesday the 8th, Biden said we're going to give another $500 million in taxpayer money to the folks over in Ukraine. So if you're in LA, if you move to Ukraine, you'll be able to get some of that money. So don't worry. So you had LA was on fire for hours throughout the night. So it was on fire during the day on Tuesday. These fires started to rage closer and closer to the city. And they're like, okay, we're going to try and weather the storm here. We're not going to get too drastic. We don't want to push the panic button yet, which I kind of understand. You don't want to jump the gun and go into all those protocols. I get it. But it raged into the night, and it got worse and worse, and it became abundantly clear that they were not going to put these fires out or even keep them at bay using the standard protocols. Drastic measures had to be taken. And nobody could get a hold of Gavin Newsom. Nobody could get a hold of Joe Biden, and nobody could get a hold of the mayor, Karen Bass. No one got the National Guard involved. No one enacted any time. So Gavin Newsom can enact emergency protocols because one guy in Louisiana got the bird flu, but the biggest city in his state is on fucking fire. And he's like, oh, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like, what? I don't know. We'll think about it. Well, so Biden was, in the eating pudding in the dementia ward, drooling into his cereal bowl. Newsom was probably passed out from the wine and Percocet that he had with dinner. Do you want to know where the mayor was, Mia? Take a guess where the mayor of LA was during these fires.
St. Louis.
No. That's a good one, though. No, where the mayor of L.A. was actually makes Gene Stother's alleged, I have to say alleged, St. Louis trips look mild. The mayor of L.A. was in Ghana for the inauguration, that's right, an African nation, for the inauguration of their new president. Now, I can understand the United States federal government sending an ambassador over there because you want to have a presence. Well, whatever, I get that. You were elected to be the mayor of Los Angeles. There are no foreign entanglements required of you to be the mayor of Los Angeles. Can anyone name one good reason why the mayor of Los Angeles was in Ghana? These fires didn't just sneak up on him. They knew they were coming. If she had the trip already planned, she could have canceled it. But she was in Ghana while her city burned to the ground. There was a saying, there was a Roman emperor named Nero. People thought he was the Antichrist. He was a lunatic. And Rome was burning to the ground, and Nero was infamous for drinking wine, eating food, and having various types of entertainment, music, plays, whatever, put before him while the city burned. It was the saying is Nero fiddled while Rome burned. And Newsom, Karen Bass, and Joe Biden are all fiddling as LA burns. History repeats itself all the time, you guys. All the time. Now, the mayor of Ghana, LA, was caught on her flight back by a journalist, a reporter who did a little bit of a guerrilla style interview with her. And check out what she had to say when she responded. Well, all criticisms aside, I felt she responded very well to these tough on-the-spot questions from this reporter. And this is the type of leadership that I look for in a politician. Go ahead.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen.
I thought she handled that interview well. I thought she did a great job at answering those questions. She left me with no further questions or concerns. She did a phenomenal job. That's the person I want in charge of my city. At least my mayor will go on drunken Facebook rants at 2 a.m. calling people out saying, "Don't you dare say I'm in St. Louis." I'll take that over just blank stare at the camera and not answering any questions. See, that's the two extremes. Is one mayor allegedly dips during a disaster and she overshares in a 2 a.m. probably Adderall-riddled Facebook tirade. The other mayor dips during a disaster and we get nothing. Which would you rather have, Mia? Which one would you, the oversharer or the mime?
Honestly, the overshare.
At least, Gene, it's kind of funny, right? It's not like, oh my God, you sick freak, you really have nothing to say. You're in over your head. You have no business being here. At least, Gene, there's a little bit of passion, right? There's a little bit of fire there. I don't know if it's fire for the people of the city. I think it's fire in terms of I don't want to lose my job. So I'm pressing a little bit here, but nonetheless. So let's get into why this happened. Because anytime there's fires, anytime anything bad happens with the environment, there's a whole segment of the population that goes, climate change and global warming. And that's not the case here, as it usually is not. So there's a couple of things going on here. First off, there is a massive firefighter shortage in Los Angeles. As you heard there, the mayor cut the fire department budget by over $1 million, and that money went into different environmental spending, flood projects toward the homeless, because we know that all worked so well over there. Criminal rehabilitation, notice not crime and punishment, not preventing crimes, but making sure they can get more criminals out onto the streets. Different diversity, equity, and inclusion plans. Nothing to actually help the city is what I'm saying there. So they cut the fire department budget in LA. Fire chiefs and other emergency response leaders, when they were hired, it was not prioritized on the quality of their resume, but rather their minority status. So if you were a minority, a woman, or a member of the LGBTQ. Can I say this? They also laid off over 100 firefighters because they did not take the COVID vaccine. Can I say this? If my house is burning down or I'm in a building that's burning down and I need to be rescued by a fireman, I don't care what his race is. I don't care what his religion is. I don't care who he fucks. I don't care if he's vaccinated for COVID. I don't care about any of that. I just want someone who I know is going to come save me. Do you think that's unreasonable? Do you agree with that? Or are you like, no Jewish firefighters? Absolutely not. No Koreans.
No Jewish, no blacks, no Asians, nothing. I want a male white firefighter.
Okay, good. See, this is the two ends of the extreme on this here on That Space with Caleb Salvatore. I also don't, but the COVID thing is what's hilarious to me. Oh, you're not vaccinated for COVID. Okay? Let me ask you guys a question. Let's say you're in a burning building, right? You're trapped up, and most fire victims don't actually die from the flames; they die from the smoke inhalation. Let's say you're trapped in a burning building, right? And your lungs are filling up with smoke. You're going to be dead in a couple minutes if somebody doesn't come save you. Are you all that worried? Like, which condition involving your lungs are you more concerned about? The smoke that's filling them up, or the possibility that you might be slightly more at risk to catch COVID because this guy didn't get his 5th booster shot, even though the vaccine doesn't actually prevent the spread? Which one are you? What are you more concerned? Are you more concerned about death from smoke inhalation or death from COVID?
Death from COVID.
COVID, much more serious, right? Much more serious. The common cold. So here's an article I found on the firefighting issue from NPR, National Public Radio, from June 5th, 2023. And as you can see by this article, you'll see that California was really tackling the big issues with firefighting in America. They were really making it clear that they were taking this crisis seriously. So here's the title of the NPR article, right? From Farida Jabalva Romero. I know I butchered that name. I apologize, Miss/Mr/they/them Romero. So here's the headline. It says, firefighting is mostly white and male. A California program aims to change that. So while they were slicing the budget, they were also, and making sure that they had less firemen, they were also making sure that the ones they actually bothered to hire were not hired based on how good they were at the job, but what they looked like. So it says fire departments have tried to diversify their ranks for years with only modest success. The profession remains overwhelmingly white and male. Again, let me ask you a question. You're in a burning building. You're gonna die if you're in there for another 5 to 10 minutes. Someone's coming to rescue you. Do you want that person to be the person who was top of his class at the fire academy, or the person who was 37th at his class at the fire academy but got the job because they needed to fill a racial or sexuality or religion or whatever quota? That's my question for you. You don't know what either of these people's skin color looks like. I'm just giving you a blind test here. Well, think about that. Sit there and chew on that for yourselves. Says,
I'm going to be honest. If I'm in a burning building, I'm probably not even going to be able to pay attention to what they look
well,
like.
first off, they're covered in fire gear and fucking masks. You're not going to be able to see what he looks like. Yeah. That's the last thing on anybody's mind except some retard who's probably never been in a fire before. Some do-gooder pencil pusher that's like, how can I make the world a better place? What stupid shit can I do? It says the profession remains overwhelmingly white and male. One California training program is trying to change that. Firefighting departments nationwide have tried to diversify their ranks for years. So this is an entire article on and I'm not going to, because this is like an interview, an entire article on how California is trying to attract more minority firefighters. It says a 1-year program. It's different that it pays for everything from prerequisite classes and books to career guidance and even housing at fire stations. Recruits also work clearing brush and trees that fuel wildfires, and that income was a game changer for Duran, who was struggling to switch careers while working as a landscaper full-time. So this is an interview with a former firefighter. So they've got a expedited program where you get less training than straight white male firefighters, and the government foots the bill for it. Excellent. Excellent. Fantastic. Love when they do that. It really is. It's a great use of taxpayer funds over there in California. So that's the situation with the fire department. Total disaster on its own, right? That alone should be reason enough for them to kick the commie scum elected leaders that they have out of office over there. But it gets deeper. Now, so that's a cause for why the problem has raged on and been as bad as it is. Now, let's ask, why did this happen in the first place? What happened in the first place to make this happen? Like I said, the average idiot's going to scream climate change, and that's not true. California has a law called CEQA, C-E-Q-A. Have you ever heard of CEQA, Mia? I'm going to guess not. It's the California Environmental, because I had never heard of it until I started doing research for the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, by all means. We know ChatGPT, when we asked it about this show, said that you are the buffer on the show that filters out some of my more extreme beliefs and bizarre conspiracy theories and acts as a pushback. So by all means, if I say something wrong here, correct me. But CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, which was passed back in the 1970. And it was one of the most significant, one of the most sweeping crackdown. At the time, they probably thought it was a great thing. Environmental protection laws in American history, right? So what this basically did, I could read the whole bill to you. I could read a synopsis of the bill to you. I'm going to break it down for you real easily and how it's relevant to this story right here. What CEQA essentially did was make it so that if you wanted to do anything to prevent forest fires, you had to go through a whole slew of government red tape to do it. It made it incredibly difficult. Now, what do I mean when I say get rid or prevent forest fires? Well, here where I'm from in the Midwest, a couple times a year, for no reason whatsoever, if you walk outside, it'll smell like a bonfire, even if no one outside is having a bonfire or you're not in an area where anyone could be having a bonfire. Sometimes it even gets a little smoky. And you'll get notifications if you check the weather app on your phone that says, hey, air quality's not too good right now. If you can exercise, do it inside. Or if you can exercise inside, do that. If you're an older person, young children, if you've got lung issues, stay indoors for a couple of days. You got older pets with breathing issues, don't take your dogs on a walk for a couple of days, those kinds of things, right? That's because where we live, the states are not run by do-gooder environmentalist retards who live in an ideological bullshit world rather than the real world. So what we do here are these things called controlled burns. Now, forest fires don't get started when a fire kicks off from a tree that's alive. Forest fires are started from dead brush and wood, right? So if you've got a bunch of dead trees that haven't been cleared out, that's where your forest fires get started. So where we're from, because we've got intelligent people running the states that actually know what the hell they're doing, and they understand how real environmental protection works, and they understand how real conservation efforts work, they go, okay, what we're going to do is periodically, we're going to go cut down all the dead wood, and we're going to set it on fire in a controlled burn, away from everything else, so that this can't rage on into grass and rip the soil and the nutrients out of the ground and cause a whole bunch of issues. We're going to do a controlled burn a couple times a year, set it on fire, and we'll make sure that nothing happens. We'll prevent forest fires that way. And you know what? Crazy enough, it works. Well, SECA and several other environmental so-called protection laws in the state of California make it nearly impossible for California to do that. Now, who passed? Now, these people that blame climate change for everything that goes on with the environment, the irony here is they're the ones that are responsible for these wildfires, because they're the ones that put the laws into place that made it so that they couldn't adequately prevent the wildfires. This is their fault. They'll blame capitalism. They'll blame climate change, global warming, whatever you want to call it. It's their fault. It's the government's fault. It's the environmentalists' fault. It's the liberals' fault. That's who's to blame here. They've also cracked down on logging. And logging, despite it being important to the economy, on top of that, it helps get rid of dead wood. So they've cut out the two primary ways that they get rid of dead wood, dead wood and brush, which is the number one cause of forest fires, almost the only cause of forest fires. And it turns out, what do you get? More wildfires. It's a disaster. This is what these policies lead to. This isn't capitalism's fault. This isn't climate change's fault. You can't solve this by drinking out of a paper straw or driving an electric car. This is the fault of big government and radical environmentalists, or as we call them, smart, stupid people. And I think that these environmentalists, I don't think that they've got these horrible intentions that, we want to burn the state to the ground. No, I think they're stupid. I think they think cutting tree down bad. And that means we can never do it. So they just let them burn down and they destroy entire cities. Newsom's been a disaster up there, though. He has been a disaster. So the fire hydrants are running out of water in California. So they had a bad drought in California, and then they got a real heavy rainfall, right? And Newsom decided not to sign the bill that would take a lot of the overflow and the excess water from that rainfall and put it into their reservoirs that could be used for emergencies. Like, giant wildfires that you guys get 5 times a year. So Newsom's administration has directly contributed to this. So Newsom in 2021 promised that he was going to work around this SECA law from the 1970s. He said, we're going to go out and we're going to find ways and loopholes to get through this, because these wildfires are a real problem. And I want to go out there and remove a lot of this wildfire fuel, right? So he wanted to go out and cut a lot of the dead wood out. Well, he said he was going to do that, but as it turns out, and Newsom said, we've got 35,000 acres of dead wood and brush that we're going to eliminate, right? This is going to be gone. And he claimed that he had treated it and removed it. But an investigative report shortly after, found out that of the 35,000 acres he claimed had been treated or flat out removed, only 13% of them had. So he lied about it and did nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Well, not nothing whatsoever, just way less than he promised. Way less than he promised. They've delayed permits for burns when they're actually allowed. It's just, and that's, again, just a product of big government taking too long. It takes way too long to get anything done when you make the government this giant bureaucracy that's overstaffed and too big for its own good. And on the water thing, Donald Trump warned them on the Joe Rogan Experience. In fact, we've got a video of it. Donald Trump warned them a couple months ago what was going to happen. And they laughed at him. Newsom came out and made fun of him. The left said he was crazy. He's worrying about things that aren't issues. And lo and behold, but check out this video. Tell me if it sounds familiar what Donald Trump had to say here.
They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why don't you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And, you know, there's a case with the environment. They're not allowed to rake their forests because you're not allowed to touch it. And all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the dead fall.
And get rid of the trees that are fallen
Yeah.
that, are like.
I love how every time Trump has any type of conversation like that, it feels like you're like with your grandpa at a campfire and he's explaining it to you. But no, he's right. So the whole reason they had all this excess water and they didn't use it, it's not like they were doing anything good with it. They weren't sending it over to Africa where they had droughts and all these people were dying of thirst. No, they were worried about one species of fish going extinct if they didn't reroute this water to the Pacific Ocean. So water that could have been used to fight the forest fires right now, again, thanks to the policies of radical left liberals and rabid environmentalists, was rerouted to the Pacific Ocean and sent to waste. And now the city is burning because of it, and they have no water to fight the fires. I take no pleasure in doing this. Well, I'm not a fan of California politics. I have good friends that live in California. I have a friend of a friend, who lost her entire house. All of her and her family, all of their belongings are gone. Destroyed. They lost everything. And you know what? Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, all these folks belong in prison for this. Make no mistake. This is, again, I don't think this was on purpose, but this is gross negligence. If you get in a car drunk and kill somebody, you didn't set out meaning to kill somebody, but your negligence still led to the destruction of God knows how many lives. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass's negligence, their ineptitude, has led to the destruction of millions and millions of lives. They should go to prison. No questions asked, both of them, for substantial amounts of time. Incompetence over and over and over again to the point it was criminal is what caused, it didn't cause the fire, but it allowed for the fire to grow to the point that it did. It was a failure, a colossal failure every step of the way on every level. Everywhere they could have failed, they failed. They failed fighting the fire. They failed containing the fire. They failed preventing the fire. This is a disaster. And they absolutely should face criminal charges for it. Now, do you remember that debate we covered between Newsom and DeSantis? We talked about it. It was a televised debate between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom. And a lot of people felt that Newsom won the debate because Newsom was the slick-talking car salesman, and they felt that, yeah, while DeSantis may have had better numbers and statistics, they liked what they heard from Newsom a little bit better, right? That even though DeSantis had the results, Newsom was the one that made the more convincing argument. Well, right here, folks, and this is everywhere. If you compare the way DeSantis handles hurricanes, which there's nothing they can do to prevent down there, all they can do is have the disaster preparedness ready and respond to it adequately. Nothing they can do to prevent versus the fires that Newsom could have at least attempted to prevent and refused to, and lied about how he prevented them, or lied about how he attempted to prevent them. If you look at the difference in hurricane response from DeSantis versus wildfire response from Gavin Newsom, and this goes for anywhere in life, we all know the difference between these two types of people. You can see the difference between a talker and a doer. Somebody who's slick talking and can tell you what you want to hear and maybe relay the message really, really well, and somebody who actually gets shit done. And that goes for every aspect of life. Every aspect of life. That counts for not just politics and government, but relationships, in the workplace, you name it. There are talkers and there are doers. And the talkers may sound good, they may make you feel good and all warm and fuzzy inside, but when the shit hits the fan and you need somebody to come in and save the day, who are you going to go to? A talker or a doer? And we got one final tweet here. I thought we'd end it on a funny note here from Donald Trump. Donald Trump being Donald Trump tweets out on Truth Social, Governor Gavin Newsom refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water from excess rain and snowmelt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Now, the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh... Can't you see him saying this, too? Like, you know he tweets this. This isn't some intern. All the adjectives. Beautiful, clean, fresh water to, and then in all caps, flow into California. He is the blame for this. On top of it all, no water for fire hydrants, no firefighting planes. A true disaster. It's Donald Trump. So if you're in California listening to the show, you're probably not listening to the show right now because most of your things have been destroyed. But if you're in California listening to this show from whatever refugee center you're at right now, take that into consideration. Your governor, Gavin Newsom, values a fish called a smelt more than you, your family, and your property. Election for you guys is, you guys' election, I believe, is 2026. I'm going to Google it real quick and make sure I get it right. California governor race. (2026). He's term limited. But I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. The next Democrat is going to continue the same policies Newsom had and probably double, if not triple down on them. Vote accordingly. You know the hilarious part, though. The hilarious part is when you break these, and you see this in California all the time. They just repealed the law. The people did. They sent the people to the ballots to repeal the law that basically made it illegal to prosecute thieves and shoplifters. They made theft a crime again in California. What's hilarious is these same people who voted overwhelmingly conservative on individual issues because they get the liberal shit for a little bit and then they realize it doesn't work, will continue to turn around and elect the same liberal politicians who put these policies that destroy them and their families' livelihoods into place. They don't fucking learn. So it gets really hard for me to feel bad for a lot of the folks in California because you guys are either voting for it or you're complicit with it. You're voting for these people that are putting these policies in that are destroying you, realizing they don't work, and then undoing them yourselves, and then continuing to reelect these people. Or you're living there under these politicians who continue to destroy your lives and going, Is what it is. At least I can go to the beach. You valued the beach over your financial security. You valued the beach over you and your family's physical security. And now you valued the beach over even having a roof over your heads. So it's hard for me to feel bad for you guys. But because I'm trying to be a nicer person and because I'm working on forgiveness, I do. I feel bad for you. I will pray for you. You should all pray for California and, pray that they overcome and rebuild from these wildfires. But you know what? More importantly, an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. Not only do we need to pray that they rebuild and overcome these wildfires, we need to pray that they pull their heads out of their collective asses and stop electing retards to run their state. That's the most important thing, because until they do that, this crap is going to continue. That's been our lead topic. We're going to store brand TMZ next. Ah!